unfiltered, verified, accurate, balanced, and without bias. Told from the human angle perspective. We interview the actors and the experts. All facts laid bare. From Nigeria to the rest of the globe, we deliver the news on time and in time. This is Globe File on Adamamogo 93.1 FM, Lekki, Lagos.
Good afternoon, this is Globe File on our Adamamogo 93.1 FM, Lagos. I am Ogboi Mark. The headlines. The number one against rancor urges consensus, fair play as APC primaries begin. Fresh outbreak of Ebola kills 65 in eastern DR Congo. Trump claims China agreed to obstruct Iran's nuclear weapon acquisition. And now the news in detail will begin from home. President Bola Tinubu has urged all Progressive Congress members, APC, to prioritize unity and sportsmanship as nationwide primaries commence today. He warned against rancorous conduct that could undermine the party's strength ahead of the 2026 general elections. The president, in a statement, praised ongoing consensus efforts under the Electoral Act 2026 and party constitution, calling it a commendable option that would help in reducing rancor and bad blood among party members. The primary elections kicked off today with those for House of Representatives aspirants and culminate in the presidential primaries on May 25th, 2026. And turning to other parts of Africa, the African Centers for Disease Control and Prevention (CDC Africa) has declared an Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo's eastern Ituri province. The Africa's Health Agency said around 246 cases and 65 deaths have been reported, mainly in the gold mining towns of Mongwalu and Ramapara. In a statement, it said it is convening a meeting with DR Congo, Uganda, South Sudan, and other international partners to discuss response efforts and cross-border surveillance. Ebola was first discovered in 1976 in what is now DR Congo and is thought to have spread from bats. This is the 17th outbreak of the deadly viral disease in the country. Early symptoms include fever, muscle pain, fatigue, headache, and sore throat. There is no cure as of this time for Ebola. South Africa's African National Congress ANC is backing President Cyril Ramaphosa over the scandal dubbed Farmgate. The ANC National Executive Committee met this week to discuss how to handle the scandal in which thieves stole bundles of foreign currency hidden in a sofa at Ramaphosa's ranch 6 years ago. ANC's Secretary General Fikile Mbalula, speaking at the headquarters in Johannesburg, reaffirmed the committee's continued support for Ramaphosa.
That the president did take us into confidence about that particular matter, and what factors did he consider before he actually make that particular pronouncement. And we will we will outline all the factors that we believe that the president was correct in pronouncing on whether or not he should stay or go. And in this particular instance, we believe it was good for the president to do that in the best interest of South Africa and stability of our country. As there was nothing that, in terms of the judgment, warranted the president to resign.
Party national of
that.
Ramaphosa faced calls to step down on Monday after the Constitutional Court last week revived impeachment proceedings against him. Up north, Morocco and Syria have taken a major step towards restoring relations as Syrian Foreign Minister Assad al-Chabani visited Rabat for talks with Moroccan Foreign Minister Nasser Bourita. The visit marks the first by a senior Syrian official to Morocco since the fall of Bashar al-Assad in December 2024. Speaking during a joint press conference in Rabat, Bourita described the meeting as the beginning of a new phase in bilateral relations after nearly 10 years of diplomatic freeze between the two countries.
Today's visit is a concrete expression of the political will that the Syrian Arab Republic has towards the Kingdom of Morocco. Today we will inaugurate the Syrian Embassy in the Kingdom of Morocco, and we look forward with great anticipation to having the honour of welcoming you to Damascus for the official inauguration of the Moroccan Embassy in Damascus.
Al-Chabani said the visit reflected Syria's political commitment to rebuilding ties with Morocco and also announced the reopening of Syrian embassy in Morocco.
We are going to set up a consular commission responsible for dealing with issues related to the presence of Moroccans in Syria, or of our Syrian brothers in the Kingdom of Morocco in their second homeland.
In May 2025, Morocco decided to reopen its embassy in Damascus after a 13-year closure. The mission officially resumed operations in July, years after Rabat's severe ties in 2012, amid escalating violence during Syria's uprising against Assad's government. Still to come on Globe File, Trump claims China agreed to obstruct Iran's nuclear weapon acquisition. To stay with us.
You can listen to Adami Mogo 93.1 FM from any part of the world. Download the Adami Mogo 931 FM app from Google Play Store and Radio Garden. And follow us on Adami Mogo 931 FM on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you have eyewitness stories or exclusive to share, contact the Adami Mogo FM newsroom via mail at newsroom@adamimogofm.com. Or you can dial 070-634-03583. You can dial 090-319-69629. Adami Mogo 93.1 FM Lagos, Voice of the Light.
Thank you for staying tuned and now to the rest of the news. U.S. President Donald Trump says he had agreed in talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping that Iran cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon and must reopen the Strait of Hormuz. He disclosed this during a second round of talks with Xi in Beijing, stating that Xi also promised not to send Iran military equipment.
All of our Syrian brothers.
Very similar to Iran. We want that to end. We did discuss Iran. We feel very similar to Iran. We want that to end. We don't want them to have a nuclear weapon. We want the straits open. We're closing it now. They closed it, and we closed it on top of them. But we want the straits open, and we want them to get it ended because it's a crazy thing. They're a little bit crazy, and it's no good. Can't have it. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. We've settled a lot of different problems that other people wouldn't have been able to settle. The relationship is a very strong one.
The U.S. paused its talks in Iran last month but began a blockade of the country's ports. Talks aimed at ending the conflict have stalled, with Iran refusing to end its nuclear program or relinquishing its stockpile of enriched uranium. Still on diplomatic relations, the United States is planning to indict former Cuban President Raul Castro as pressure is raised on the island's communist government. Several U.S. media outlets reported that the potential charges relate to a 1996 incident in which Cuba shot down planes flown by anti-Castro humanitarian group Brothers to the Rescue. The reports surfaced hours after a U.S. delegation led by CIA Director John Ratcliffe met Cuban officials in Havana, where he offered $100 million in humanitarian assistance on the condition that the government agrees to meaningful reforms. Indicting Castro would mark an escalation in the ongoing crisis in U.S.-Cuba relations, which have deteriorated since U.S. President Donald Trump took office for a second term in 2025. Trump has threatened that Cuba's government would be toppled after the U.S. military abduction of Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro. And now Russia and Ukraine swapped 205 prisoners of war each as part of an agreement linked to a ceasefire earlier this month, brokered by U.S. President Donald Trump. The Russian Defense Ministry said its servicemen were located in Belarus, where they were being provided with necessary support. The warring countries agreed to exchange 1,000 soldiers earlier this month as part of the Trump negotiated deal. The ceasefire, which ran from May 9 to May 11, was marred by reports of violations from both sides. And talking legal matters, the Philippine Justice Minister says the country will submit to a request from the International Criminal Court to arrest a senator, Ronald Bato de la Rosa, wanted for alleged crimes against humanity. ICC's Justice Secretary Frederick Vida said the warrant for the arrest of De La Rosa, the former police chief who oversaw ex-President Rodrigo Duterte's bloody anti-narcotic crackdown, is valid, and any attempt to leave the country will be seen as a mockery of justice. De La Rosa had filed an emergency appeal at the Supreme Court, arguing that the ICC had no jurisdiction after Philippines' 2019 withdrawal from the Rome Statute. However, he has denied any involvement in illegal killings. And talking sports, injured Brighton winger Kaoru Mitoma has been left out of Japan's World Cup squad in a major blow to their chances of progressing beyond the last 16 for the first time. The 28-year-old suffered hamstring injury during Brighton's 3-0 win over Wolves in the Premier League last weekend. Coach Hajime Moriyasu said in naming his squad in Tokyo, the medical team assessed that it would be difficult for him to get back to fitness during the tournament. Mitoma, who has scored 9 goals, is one of Japan's best players and scored the winner in their 1-0 friendly victory over England at Wembley in March. And touchdown on business. India's state-run fuel retailers have raised petrol and diesel prices for the first time in 4 years by 3 rupees per litre, or more than 3%, to recoup some of the losses incurred due to higher global crude oil prices. India, the world's third biggest oil importer and consumer, is one of the last major economies to raise retail fuel prices following the disruption to shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. State-run Indian Oil Corp, Hindustan Petroleum Corp, and Bharat Petroleum Corp, which together control more than 90% of India's 103,000 fuel stations, tend to set diesel and petrol prices in tandem. Diesel in Delhi will cost 90.67 rupees a litre and petrol 97.77 rupees, reflecting an increase of 3.4% and 3.2% respectively, from 87.67 rupees and 94.77 rupees a litre. Before we bring Globe Fair to an end, here is a recap of the biggest stories. We told you President Bola Tinubu urged all progressive Congress members to prioritize unity and sportsmanship as nationwide primaries commence today. It was also in the news the African Centers for Disease Control and Prevention (CDC) Africa declared an Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo's eastern Ituri province. We also told the U.S. President Donald Trump said he had agreed in talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping that Iran cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon and must reopen the Strait of Hormuz. And that's Club Fire on behalf of the production team. I am Ogboi Mark. Do join us at 2 o'clock for more stories on the briefing on Adami Mogo 93.1 FM Lagos. Good afternoon.
Bí òwú bá di ẹkùn, a máa yan láàrin igbó.